and it's October the 4th, 2016. I'm bringing you warnings and watches for Hurricane Matthew, since this is a category superstorm Matthew. The other day, on October the 1st, Matthew was baptized by solar winds that have been non-stop streaming in the earth for the past week now, folks. So this storm really got more intensified when it got solar winds into it. Also, all the storms on Earth gets more intensified from solar winds. All right, as we're looking at the daily sun on October the 3rd, 2016, as it's moving along, we see that the potential in the future for 2598 AR. All right, as it moves along later this week, this might produce X-class solar flare. Right now, we are in a solar wind jet stream that's been happening for the past 7 days as a new coronal hole on the left side is emerging. So Earth is inside a stream of solar wind flowing from the indicated coronal hole. All right, so folks, all the storms on Earth is going to intensify still, and hopefully the end of date will be on October 7th. Because we do have another coronal hole coming, but I still think this is weird with the spirits that's above Hurricane Matthew that was captured on October the 1st. And let's move right into that. The link's going to be at the bottom on the Weather Channel. Spirits and lightning take sky by storm over major Hurricane Matthew. Spirits are the highest of thunderstorms and lightning storms. Basically, it's just lightning bulbs touching all the way to the outer space. Okay, folks, and it's rare. Just first off, you don't really see a lot of spirits. It's just rare, period. But it's really rare to see spirits inside a hurricane. So this hurricane's packing a lot of force, a lot of wind, and a lot of deadly potential. As this is a slow-moving storm, folks, and this storm is crazy. So this storm been intensified too by the solar winds. So this storm is electronically charged. On top of this storm been manipulated by Haarp and all the wrong reasons, and we're going to get right into that. I just want everyone out there down Haiti, it's getting nailed right now as I'm making this video, as the eye is moving a little bit towards the west, towards Cuba. This Hurricane Matthew is taking an unpredictable path, and no one, not even the Weather Channel, can predict what's happening with Matthew, as this is a slow-moving storm, and it's keep moving northwest. So let's get into what's happening out here in Atlantic. In the Atlantic, between 10 north and 20 north, off the coast almost of Venezuela, we got another wave coming in. Most likely it's going to stay a storm, but it still has the potential to become the third tropical storm within these tropical storms, known as Otto. Up here, 20 north, between 60 west, we got Nicole, tropical storm Nicole. Alright, it's not going to do no landfall, no damage, as we got highs and lows up here in the middle of the Atlantic that is controlling both movements of both of these storms, including Hurricane Matthew. When we look at Tropical Storm Nicole at 60 west, all the way down as we're looking at Hurricane Matthew going over Haiti and entering Cuba, moving west, Tropical Storm Nicole is pushing Hurricane Matthew more to the west. As we're looking at the lines up here, as we see the system, as this is all high pressure in the middle and the low pressure is all the way up here by Newfoundland, right here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. We're seeing the worst possible scenario is taking place right now as we speak. As I warned the other day, is once this system moves, then Hurricane Matthew has a freedom path, folks. And I haven't seen a storm like this in years. This possibly got 10 to 15% chance of making direct landfall central right by Miami. If you live on Miami or the whole east coast of Florida, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, Georgia, East Coast, South Carolina, North Carolina, please be ready to evacuate. Prepare yourself right now as we speak on October the 4th, as this storm is coming towards the East Coast most likely. There's a possibility that this storm might end up in the Gulf of Mexico, but the only reason I don't think it's going to end up in the Gulf of Mexico is another system that's coming from the western part of the United States and moving to the Midwest is going to push it off, making it go more eastward in a couple of days as Nicole is pushing it towards the west and as the low pressure up here is taking it up. I believe that this storm is going to stay off course and just be touching the east coast of Florida, but all uncertainty is inevitable, as this storm could possibly just keep heading north as this system moves and make landfall beyond North Carolina or beyond. So I want everyone else out there to be prepared. Let's get into the global earth and the wind map real fast. As we look at this map, you can see tropical storm with no initiative really becoming a hurricane, Nicole out to the east in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where 60 West is, where that little circle is pushing Hurricane Matthew. The eye is right now over Cuba. So warnings and watches for Cuba. But what's strange about this is it definitely is going to keep going westwards. It's going to go through the Bahamas in the next 10 to 12 hours. So people, if you guys live in the Bahamas down there on vacation, get prepared, move, get the hell out of there, or take shelter, high shelter in a very strong building. This is a Category 4 and most likely will intensify in the next 10 to 12 hours as it's back open warmer water. Now as we look at the system, we got Nicole pushing Hurricane Matthew to the west. Alright, so it's going to move up towards the Bahamas. And here's Florida. Okay, folks, it's going to keep moving northwest very, very slow. Then we got this jet stream. It's going to pump it up with air, so it's going to explode. It's going to be a big storm, folks. There's a lot of potential for the storm. This storm could even still end up as very, 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 very rare in the Gulf of Mexico. As I warned that last week when I saw the Haarp rings and the potential of this, but most likely it's not going to happen. It can hit central Miami. Folks, so if you live in Miami, be prepared. Go take a little vacation for a week. And the next couple days, take a couple days off. Get the hell out of Florida because it's definitely going to bruise by or make landfall in Florida. It's definitely going to make landfall or bruise by Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. All right. The storm is very, very unpredictable. It's one of the most unpredictable storms. But since we're inside of Solar 1, as soon as this eye goes back over open water, the storm is going to intensify back to a Category 5 hurricane, folks. I am reporting it before any other news by, as we're inside a solar stream right now. The storm will make it back to a Category 5 and bump back down to a Category 4 before we see it hit Bahamas. All right, so I want everyone in Bahamas to be prepared. Where Hurricane Matthew is over warm and variable water, all the way up to North Carolina, Virginia, where hurricanes could still make potential. All right, so a hurricane in any of this water, the Gulf, all the way down here to the tip of South America, the Atlantic Ocean, definitely right there, where between 0, the equator, all the way up to 20 north, is favorable potentials for hurricane water, folks. I just want you guys to know that. As we move to the wind map for the United States of America. You can see the winds ain't really that bad on the East Coast. As this air is getting pushed down from the north and then back up through warmer water in the Gulf. Pushed straight up the Central Plains into another system up north around the Dakotas and the northern Central Plains by Wisconsin. Right in the middle is Denver. You can see it, but right up here in the north, there's another system. So let's go warnings and watches for the United States of America, including Haarp rings, as there's a lot of Haarp rings, folks. So I'm going to put warnings and watches for hurricane and rain and floods warning for Florida for the next 24 to 72 hours. Including Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina for hurricane warning for the next 72 hours and beyond that around Thursday, Friday. As we look down between Florida and Jamaica, you can see a circle. That's a Haarp ring right there. So there's a Haarp, something's happening, weather modification. Right there could attract the hurricane more westward and to this variable position. There's a big giant scalar square though over all Florida, northern Florida, all the way up to South Carolina. So warnings and watches for the next 24 to 72 hours for severe and major weather, since we do have a hurricane that's down here known as Matthew. As we look at the rest of the United States, as we go up here, you can see a Haarp ring right in the middle, folks. So warnings and watches for all Central Plains as the next 24 to 72 hours from this system alone. That's coming from the west too. We got a Haarp ring perfectly over Seattle, around Washington, over here by Oregon, northern Oregon, the tip, northern California. But when we see Haarp rings over here in Florida, starting in Oregon, put warnings and watches for earthquakes up here. Just the storms intensify as there's a lot of stuff going on in the west and in the Central Plains, as we do have a major Haarp ring up here, all the way up here in Canada. So warnings and watches for all of the northwest for the next 24 to 72 hours, all the north Central Plains, and all week we're going to see tornado warnings and very strong thunderstorms all over the Central Plains in the beginning, right by Wisconsin, right by the Dakotas, right down here by Colorado and stuff. Warnings and watches, folks. Warnings and watches for tornadoes and severe storms all week that's going to happen. As the temperature is going to increase, we also have a Haarp ring off the coast around right in the middle. We could zoom in. This is the outer ring out here, right there. It's a Haarp ring right around there. As you're going to see it pop up in the middle. I believe his names are very important. So the meaning of Matthew is, since we got Hurricane Matthew coming up, English form of Matthew, which was a Greek form of the Hebrew name Matthew, meaning gift of the Heavenly Father. St. Matthew, also called Levi, was one of the 12 apostles. So Matthew means the gift of Yahweh, our Heavenly Father. And there's biblical quotes and all that stuff you guys could check out. We're going to have it at the bottom of the videos. Let's move on. So all week for the Midwest Central Plains, I'm going to put warnings and watches all the way down to the middle of the Central Plains and all the way to the bottom of Texas. Warnings and watches for massive storms, massive floods, tornado watches definitely. As there's a whole bunch of, there's another system that's moving right through. So you can see right now down here, the tail, there's a probably tornado warning right there as we speak. Right in the middle, you can see Haarp ring over Texas. You can see Haarp rings off the coast. So warnings and watches. So warnings and watches for the north and west for the next 24/72 hours. There's a lot of rain, a lot of Haarp rings. Up here in Canada, warnings and watches for the next 24/72 hours. Warnings and watches for the Central Plains and the Midwest for the next 24 to 72 hours, but beyond 48 to 72 hours. As all week, we're going to see warnings and watches for tornadoes and floods. What's going on this week? Let's get into that. On October the 7th, the Central United States Earthquake Consortium, CUSEC by FEMA, is conducting an earthquake building and flood watch. As we go scroll to the bottom, the following: an earthquake or catastrophic disaster, there is an immediate need for damaging buildings inspection. Citizens must be kept from using unsafe building. This is a training provides instruction on rapid and detailed evaluation, and this happens this Friday. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. So there's warnings and watches around Memphis, Tennessee for flood watches for real and major tornadoes. Since we're in that stream, that I put warnings and watches for next 24 to 72 hours. Now let's get into Hurricane Matthew one more time before we end this video. What's creepy about Hurricane Matthew is there's a lot of similar storms that started where Hurricane Matthew started, around the tip of the Caribbean, around Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, and this certain water. One of them is that major storm Sandy. Alright, Hurricane Sandy. You can see its pattern right here. Takes the same right over Cuba. Alright, folks. Now let's go down and scroll down and look at Hurricane Sandy real fast. You see Hurricane Sandy when it was a tropical disturbance on October 20, 2012, as it was going over Haiti up here by Cuba. As we move down, you can see Hurricane Sandy right over, moving westward, right over. Now this is Erie, right over Cuba. And this is at its intense, a Category 3. Alright, folks. And it died down and it became this as soon as it hit the upper air that was pushing down and it infused it. Hurricane Hazel, 1954. Another hurricane. Let's look at its path, where it ended up at. Basically almost on the same path, went right over Haiti. But the difference between Hurricane Hazel is that right now as we speak, Hurricane Matthew's over Cuba is moving westward. So it's taking more of a favorable approach as Sandy. As you can see, Sandy over Cuba and over Haiti, but it's starting to move over Cuba right here. And you can see how it turned to a superstorm from the air jet streams pushing down. That was another slow-moving storm with a lot of Haarp rings. Now let's look back. This is what Hurricane Matthew looks like over Seattle, and you can see the eye as it's building up. as it's right over entering Cuba. So if you live in Cuba right now, please evacuate, get to shelter. This hurricane been hitting you guys. But the strongest part after the eye is coming. Bahamas, be prepared, and you can see right now it's major. All right, and this storm has a unpredictable approach. Another thing bad about this hurricane is that it stalled a lot of oil. So during the week, we're going to see oil prices probably jump up a little bit. Hurricane Matthew threatens petroleum terminals in Bahamas as they have to stop 33 million barrels of oil storages capacity at risk. All right, in the Bahamas, since it's a Category 4 hurricane. Tropical Storm Matthew was another weird hurricane that happened in 2010. All right, September 28th. It went over. This took the same path, but just kept on moving westward, and then it became another hurricane as it went over Mexico, dropped, became Hurricane Julie. That was strange. All right, so all these hurricanes that happen in the end of the season, September, October, they are all strong and weird hurricanes like we never seen before. From Hurricane Sandy became a superstorm that had on one side of the storm that we predicted 2 weeks before the Hurricane Sandy, because we've seen all the Haarp rings lit up the East Coast, so we put warnings and watches out on that. The whole East Coast was lit up. But basically, it took the same approach as we're looking at Hurricane Matthew. Okay, folks? Except Hurricane Matthew has another tropical storm, Nicole, pushing it more westwardly. All right, and then up here is a system. As the wind's pushing down and the system's moving up behind this force system right here, the hurricane's going to blow up into a super storm. So warnings and watches, and this is going to be a severe storm, folks. All right. So my prediction of this hurricane, where is it going to end up? I think it's going to hit Florida, folks. I think it's going to hit Georgia. I think it's going to hit South Carolina, North Carolina. As I've been watching this storm for the past week, it's really been unpredictable. I just look at the eye. Okay, the eye of the storm is the storm. Alright. And people say it's moving westward. Yes, it's moving westward because of Nicole's pushing it towards the west, but the eye has stayed directly going straight up. Straight up. I don't want to say it, and I'm going to do another update tomorrow on this hurricane. But if you live in Bahamas, be prepared for Category 4 or 5 hurricane. As this storm's going to intensify after Cuba. When it's back over a lot of open water, and the eye is circulating and forming at its best right now. Excuse me. As you can see, the system of the storm been moving all around towards the west, but the eye been staying going straight north, folks. It's moving westwards a little bit, but not that much. Where the storm's gonna end up, I do got warnings and watches for in 2 days for Florida. As tonight and tomorrow, Bahamas gonna see a fierce Category 5 hurricane. Once that eye passes over Cuba and still over open waters, things gonna become a Category 5 as it move northward. All right, so I'm gonna put warnings and watches all for the right now for the southeast of America. That's including Florida. If you live on the east coast of Florida, including but not limited. If you live from Miami, any place in the Florida Keys, Miami, where we see the Haarp rings, warnings and watches for a major storm next 24 to 72 hours. That's including this hurricane. Matthew, that's what's going to happen. There's a Haarp ring perfectly there. So warnings and watches for the next 24 to 72 hours. Warnings and watches for all Florida for the next 24 to 72 hours, but definitely on the East Coast as this thing is keep moving north and just moving slowly towards the west. It ain't moving extremely to the west, it's just moving slowly to the west, but it's moving north. Alright, warnings and watches for Georgia, definitely for South Carolina, North Carolina for the next 24 to 72 hours. There's a whole bunch of stuff going there. The storm's going to explode once it passes Bahamas. This thing's going to expand like a woolly mammoth. So I'm going to give you guys another update tomorrow. We got another video coming next. This is the No Face Moon. Please like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and all them will stay up to date on Hurricane Matthew, give you the latest news tomorrow. So if you live in the Bahamas, evacuate right now. If you live in Cuba right now as the storm is hitting, take shelter in Haiti. We won't know what happened in Haiti until the storm has passed, as I know it's tragic because that storm done put a wallop on Haiti and some slow moving storms. But Bahamas, Florida, embrace yourself. Definitely Bahamas, but Florida, get prepared because it is coming. Even if it's not hitting you guys directly on, just skims past you or goes, but it's gonna hit. It might hit dead on. There's a Haarp ring that was between Cuba and Miami, folks. So that's something. You got big scalar square that was right over all of northern Florida, around Jacksonville, Daytona, Georgia. Warnings and watches. So be prepared. It's a no face movement. Movement. Till next time. Facing off.